those years in school when they're making those career decisions. Well, that's the topic of our show today, and I want to introduce our first panel of guests who are here to talk about some initiatives that are in the works and future dreams and goals about introducing students to the wonderful world of aviation. And I'd like to start with Mr. Royce Turner, principal at Ribault High School. Welcome, Royce.
Thank you for having me.
We're so glad you're here. A lot of exciting things going on at Ribault.
Yes.
And we're going to get a chance to talk about them a little bit. And next to you is Colonel John Watson, who is the Ribault Junior ROTC leader, director. What is your...
Senior instructor.
Senior instructor, wow. My apologies, I didn't get all of that intro. And you've been in our show before talking about the great things going on at Ribault, and so it's time to come back and see what's happening. So tell us, how long have you been at Ribault?
I've been at Ribault for a little over 2 years now.
A little over 2 years. And so what do you see as Ribault's involvement in aviation, and let's just start there. Where are you now in Ribault Aviation aviation?
Okay. Well, basically, we are in the planning stages of putting together a dynamic aviation program for our students in our community. We've laid the groundwork, which is getting a number of the important folk at the table so that we can have the important conversations that we need to move forward. But we're still at a planning stage. We know where we'd like to end up, and we know which people are going to be instrumental in doing that. So now it's just a matter of having those conversations and bringing some formalness to it.
Right. And Colonel Watson, tell us about what's going on with the Junior ROTC program.
Yes, ma'am. In particular, as it relates to the aviation program, we're really at a jumping off point. We've had a ground school, a simple aviation program for the 4 years that I've been there. And we just recently acquired a very sophisticated flight training device, a flight simulator in most people's words, where you can actually sit down in it and flight time. So we're actually really at a transition point between something very simple where we can teach the people how to fly, but we can't fly them, and now we can continue that and move on to the initiatives that the principal mentioned.
So how long have you been involved with this program?
I've been at Ribault now for 4 years this month, in fact. The ROTC program has been there for about 30 years. The aviation program, in some form or other, has been there for quite a while. In its present form, it's been there about the same time I've been there.
So what kind of students are currently involved with the ROTC program?
Presently, the ROTC program involves all the students, grades 9 through 12. There are 4 levels. And the program is actually called Leadership Education. ROTC just happens to be the vehicle for teaching leadership. Inside the program, we have this, what I call a subcourse, a private pilot ground school. That's the aviation piece that we have now.
Now, I know that the goal of part of what we're talking about is to introduce students into the world of aviation. Why is that important? Why do you want to go in that direction?
Well, it's such an area that we're underrepresented in. The students that we serve in our community, this is an area that they often don't gravitate towards, no pun intended, but the exposure to such a thing and knowing what all opportunities are out there for them, we think is going to help them as they decide on how they can meet their obligations later on in life.
So as students are looking to what types of things are out there in aviation, I said at the top that it's not just about pilots, and I know you're really a part of a flight training. What other things are available for students who might be interested in the aviation field?
Well, we're talking about the air traffic controller.
Air traffic control. I'd like to add something on to that the principal said a moment ago. Why do you want people to do this? Being an aviator myself, it's just plain fun. It's
Well,
just plain
that,
fun.
yeah.
There are a lot of opportunities that people are not aware of. Flying an airplane is one. It's not even the most important. There are others. Air traffic control. You don't have to watch the television more than a couple of times to see what's going on out there in that part of the world. There's a lot going on right now in the Federal Aviation Administration in relation to safety in the airlines. There are all sorts of career-related, career-type opportunities for anyone who might be interested. And I think the principal hit the nail on the head. The young people in my school simply are not aware of these opportunities. And it's our job to try to make them aware of that and then to show them how to get there.
Right. Well, so what are some of the challenges that you face in trying to develop a program? I know it takes a long time, but you got to start with a vision.
Right.
So what are some of the challenges that you
Well,
think?
I think there are a few. Finances are always a challenge. Trying to find the funding to support this. It's a very expensive industry or area. So that's one piece. Also, communication is a challenge. You know, people need to know what they don't know, and that's always a difficult thing to do, to get the word out to people and to spark up the interest and actually tell kids this is what's out there and there are different possibilities. So the interest or communication is another piece. And I guess the final challenge is just creating the structure for this to be successful, to make sure that everything's in place, because you always feel like you're forgetting one piece of it.
Right.
I don't know if you have any other challenges.
We had a group of 8th graders from one of the schools, inbound 9th graders out there today, and even today I learned these young people simply are not aware of these things, and communication is important across the board, at his level certainly, but even when it comes down to the folks that are going to be trying to put this thing together, we have to be talking among ourselves, with administration, with the district officials, parents, students.
Right. Now, when you mentioned communication, I imagine that there's a significant amount of partnership that needs to happen as you move forward with a program like this. Can you talk briefly to what kind of partnerships would be really important for the success?
Well, a big partnership will be equipment use and time and space. All those things are things that will help the kids be successful in this program. So we continuously look for partners in the private sector who have these resources readily available and are willing to share those with the children in our community. But space, equipment, time, those are the resources that we need.
We're looking at also at the potential for, hopefully not too distant future, of developing relationships with the local colleges.
Right.
There are some great degree programs out there, and I think you have someone on later that's going to talk about it a little bit at JU and at FCC, at Jacksonville University and at FCCJ. That sort of partnership we need to be looking at also.
Yes.
And so what are your goals? As you're looking at this program, I know you mentioned briefly that the students you represent are generally underrepresented in the entire aviation industry or certain aspects. Can you clarify?
We'd really, one of the goals is we want to see a pilot. We want to see some of our students actually out there flying planes, you know, and that's the fun part of it, I guess, for me. But I also want to see our community catch fire, and it represents something much bigger than just the flying of a plane. The plane represents something that's unattainable. So at this point, I'd like to see this program help our community realize that there are no barriers, there are no limits as to what we can do. When they say the sky is the limit, that's what we really want them to believe.
Right, right. And not just pilots, because it's an exciting realm throughout the whole aviation industry. So are you hoping to also generate interest with your students to other fields that are not specific to pilots?
Exactly. When Colonel Watson talked about the maintenance and air traffic controllers, there are a ton of occupations and different opportunities for our children that are in the aviation field, but you first have to get your foot in the door and realize that there is an entire aviation field. We realize that, and we think once we get them in that area, in that arena, they'll start to looking around at other things that are of interest to them, and we'll see the entire community catch fire.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, the beauty of the aviation field is something we really need to get put across, is that you don't have to have a college degree to do everything. Certain elements are going to require that level of education, but there are a number of opportunities in aviation that don't necessarily require that. And we try in my ROTC program, we try to impress upon the children that there are all kinds of opportunities that require all sorts of levels of education.
Very good. Now, I know we don't have that much time left, but I wanted to talk about, in addition to the partnerships of equipment and other things, what else is needed as you're looking long-term to support this program. And then I want to talk briefly about something that's coming up this summer.
One of the things we need is a commitment from the community to say, yes, we're going to be a part of this. We're going to be right there side by side with you guys as you go through, and not just giving you the air time and going up in the planes and the other programs, but commitments from folks like FCCJ and the dual enrollment program. All those things are things that can help the program sustain a long, long life, and that's what we want. We don't want this to be a flash in the pan. This is something that will go on for a while.
Right.
One of the down and dirty, very basic aspects of this thing is we're going to have to figure out a way to pay for flight time. Flight time is expensive. It can cost as much $150 an hour. And frankly, we haven't worked our way all the way through that yet. We've talked to a number of great people that are willing to kick in. And I think probably what we really need is some sort of a consortium of business folk and others who would be willing to get together and maybe come up with some sort of exponential way of getting the funds to do this.
Right, right. But this is a great way to get it started. So let's talk about what is happening this summer that's going to give some fortunate students real exposure to aviation. What's coming up this summer?
Well, we're actually going to have a one-week camp for from some lucky students who will be exposed to the field of aviation through the works of volunteers, some great organizations who are coming together to make this thing happen.
There's an organization called the Black Pilots Association, and they actually, someone pushed a little bit, but they actually came to us with a program that they already have in place.
Right.
This summer, they're going to come out. We're going to have a little one-week school. Part of that school, they'll get some ground school. They'll go out and visit some of the airfields, and they're actually going to get a little bit of flight time. The follow-on to that is next summer, they're going to try to do what amounts to almost a complete course that would get the student up pretty close to being able to get his private pilot license.
That's exciting stuff.
Yes.
Do you have a date set for your summer camp?
Well,
We're thinking 7 to 11 July right now.
July,
Well, yes, ma'am.
that's military
I'm sorry.
talk. Okay.
Beg your pardon, ma'am.
That's okay. So July 7 through 14, no, 7 through 11.
Yes, ma'am.
Is and is there a contact or that somebody, if they're interested in this, can get in touch with somebody?
At this point, it will be Colonel Watson on the school site. So if they call our school number and ask for the ROTC portion and speak to Colonel Watson, we'll get their name down and give them as much information as we can.
And I'm sure we'll be putting out, or there'll be more information coming out about the specific details, because we're still a couple of months out.
Yes.
But that's exciting stuff.
Yes, we look forward to it.
Well, we're excited to have you here, and I know there's great things coming out of this program and your involvement in it. So I want to thank you, Mr. Royce Turner, Principal of Ribault High School, for joining us, and Colonel John Watson, the Senior Instructor for the Ribault JROTC. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Don't go away. When we come back, we'll talk more about the summer program coming to Jacksonville.
Thank you for feeding my family.
Thank you for giving me shelter.
Thank you for giving me hope.
Support the Red Cross and change a life, starting with your own.
Hit it.
Support the Red Cross and change a life, starting with your own.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of the Airport News Show. On today's program, we're talking about ways to expose our school children to the wonderful world of aviation. On the first segment, we talked to the principal and the JROTC commander about what's going on at Ribault High School. And now I have some more guests who are more in the process and partners, very important parts of any future programs that are developed in Ribault High School. So let me introduce them. And first off, I want to start with Mr. William C.J. Charlton, who is the Southeast Region VP for the Organization of Black Airline Pilots. Welcome,
Thank you.
CJ.
Thank
So
you for
glad you
having me.
flew in all the way from Charlotte just to be here. We're so grateful. And next to him is Mr. J.B. Renninger, who is the Director of the Aviation Center at FCCJ. Welcome, J.B.
Thank you for having me here today.
Well, we're always happy to have you. And then last but certainly not least is Mr. Juan Merkt, who is the Director of Aviation at Jacksonville University.
Very glad to be here.
Thank you for being here, all these academians. Wow, I'm so honored. And a uniform, too. Wow. Okay, let's get to it. Ribault High School is looking at exposing more students to aviation and being pilots and things like that. And I know that OBAP has a wonderful program that you've been doing for a long time. So let's start there, because you're also involved in the summer camp that we referenced the last segment. So tell us a little bit about your program.
Okay. Well, the Organization of Black Airline Pilots, we host about 20 to 25 aviation career enrichment camps around the country during the course of the summer. And the sole purpose of the camp is to introduce children or students to careers in aviation. Though we're a bunch of pilots, we encounter all the different careers that are available in the aviation field. We like to consider ourselves to be the carrot. You know, there's the carrot and the stick. We let the kids taste the carrot to get an idea of what it is, because 95% of the time they didn't even know the carrot was available to them, as Mr. Turner said. So once we give them the opportunity to taste the carrot, we go as far as putting the actual airplane at the end of the camp to let them actually get up and doing some flying time. Based upon that interaction, the kids that show the interest as well as the potential, if they choose to stay involved with the program, we have collateral follow-on programs, or we bring them back for more in-depth camps during the course of the summers to help advance their interest in aviation, whether it be flying, air traffic control, aviation maintenance. And what we found in Ribault when they contacted us is, through Colonel Watson's Marine Corps Junior ROTC program, they have a lot of the foundation in place that allows us to come in and provide the actual flying aspect to it, to validate the program that they have and show these kids that there is an opportunity that's out there that you may not have ever considered before in the past, that leads you to a career that, as I said, it's fun. There's nothing better than flying. Other people may choose to think otherwise, but I wouldn't say it.
Well, that's really interesting, because, you know, in Jacksonville, we have a very strong aviation presence. I know at the Aviation Authority, we own and operate 4 airports in Jacksonville. We have 2 military bases dealing with aviation as well. So being in that industry, it's almost incredible to think that there's people that don't realize that aviation is such a broad field that don't know about it.
You would think that, but the interesting part is we represent the great unseen, as we like to say sometimes. There are over 175,000 commercial pilots in the United States. Less than 4,000 are African American. So you're not really talking about a large number of them. So when you're trying to find role models or examples of these kids from these communities to see, they're not readily seeing it. And let's face it, most of the people, when that goal is to make yourselves, to improve yourself, to move up, you're not really staying in some of the communities they're at, so you have to find ways to give back. And our ACE Camp program is what we've found as a viable vehicle to take that opportunity to give back to the students. And when we go into these communities and these kids get an opportunity to see representations of possibilities of what they can be, it changes their whole perception on what life can be and what the future holds for them.
Right, and I know that our executive director and CEO, John Clark, who's also African American, he was exposed to aviation at I think at an early age during high school or junior high school, something he hadn't considered. So, and now he runs the entire Aviation Authority, so the sky is the limit, whatever you want to do. Well, from the FCCJ and JU perspective, I know both of you are very heavily into aviation, not just from the flying perspective. Can you give us a brief description of the different aviation programs you each have?
Well, from the Florida Community College vantage point, Jacksonville is a very rich environment for aviation. We have scheduled carriers, we have maintenance, rework, overhaul airports, general aviation, business airports. So it's a rich environment which a student can pursue a career in aviation, not just only in the piloting aspect, but in all the aspects of aviation. Our goal at FCCJ is to provide the opportunity for those students to pursue those careers. But you know, these efforts at the high school summer camps are to motivate them to prepare. Students have to prepare for a career field in aviation, and that's what we're trying to do with our mentorship, our efforts over the summer vacation to motivate these students to prepare their scholastic abilities to be competitive in the aviation market.
Okay, and what about at JU?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with JB here. I mean, Jacksonville it's an extremely unique place for anybody who wants to be involved in aviation, both in the education field, in high school, in college, but later on as they move on into their careers. You know, I think JAA provides a wonderful opportunity for anybody, for example, who wants to get involved in airport management. We have, JU has some very valuable internships for students in the program who want to become airport managers. But at JU, we basically have two major degree options. One is in aviation management, and that is the one that is designed for people who want to go into airport management or airline management. And then we have also a very strong, very dynamic flight program. We have a very unique partnership with an airline academy and Delta Connection Academy, and through that partnership, we're able to bring someone who doesn't have any flight experience and bring them all the way from scratch, if you want, and train them as they obtain their degree. Train them to become flight instructors, and once they have the flight instructor certificate, they can actually be instructors in the program as they move on to their next step, which will be the regional airlines. Right. And with DCA, with our partnership, the students have that pretty much a direct path, if you want, into the right seat of a regional jet, and later on they move on to to a major airline. So we're very fortunate to have this partnership, and I think we're very fortunate to be in Jacksonville and in partnership with JAA, because that really increases the opportunity for the students to succeed in careers in aviation.
Right. And like you mentioned, JU, you've got programs in flight as well as airport management, and FCCJ, I know you have programs in maintenance and...
Well, yeah, we have programs in flight as well as maintenance, and our newest program is going to be in air traffic control. It's a huge national need in the aviation environment right now. The FAA is going to be hiring 15,000 controllers over the next 10 years. So a young person that's looking to pursue a career, not a job, but a career, I couldn't think of a better career field than aviation to pursue.
Even if it's not a pilot.
Yeah, no, I mean, it takes all kinds.
That's right.
It's a variety of skills required to to provide air transport, one of the safest, transportation systems in the world. So it takes all hands.
Exactly. Now this summer, we were talking about there's going to be a one-week camp, I believe July 7 through 11. So we don't have much time left, but let's briefly talk about what's involved in that summer camp and what can students who will be able to attend expect at this camp, and what role you will be playing to coordinate it. Do you want to lead us off on that?
Well, the Aviation Career Enrichment Camp that we're going to do, the ACE Camp, is actually going to be a collaboration between FCCJ, JU, Ribault, and a few other community organizations. What we in OBAP strive to do, and just piggybacking on what Mr. Renninger said, was that a lot of times us in the business, we talk in company language, and for people uninformed, you don't know. But the best way that I could equate it is, our kids, they're the Xbox PS360, Xbox 360 PSP generation, and the way that they develop their cognitive skills and learning outside the classroom is not reflective of what they learn inside the classroom. what we strive to do in the programs that we do is make a connection between those two. So for like that major initiative which he is talking about, the need for air traffic controllers, we're able to show kids that learning how to be an air traffic controller is no different than playing Xbox 360 with your headset on, doing internet, interacting with other people around the world. That is the direction that technology is moving, and we need our students, our future generations, to understand that, to make that connection with the career fields and the things that we have coming up, so that they'll move to want to get into it, so they view it as something as viable, something that they can enjoy. But as I said, we're just partnering together, and we're all going to leverage our different resources to create a camp that's going to allow them to fly airplanes. We're going to let them see the maintenance side of it. We're also going to do the virtual air traffic control simulators if we all get it going. But they will get an opportunity to control aircraft. They're going to do some tours. They'll see just all the different resources and all the different facilities and options that are out there for them to take an interest in if they choose to after the camp.
Anything to add about what you will be doing with this camp as far as, that was a wonderful summary.
Yeah. Well, I guess JU's part on this is going to be in providing the airplanes and the flight instructors for the kids to be able to fly. We're going to be providing them with 30-minute orientation flights, and it's going to be a lot of fun. They're going to be flying out of Craig Airport, which is where we do our flight training with Delta Connection Academy, and that's something that we're all looking forward to.
For Florida Community College, we're located at Cecil Field. It's a rich environment with military, civilian, business, light general aviation aircraft, flight simulators, maintenance, air traffic control. It's a rich environment to motivate anybody. I perceive this as being a very nice field trip to motivate these students to have a good time, pursue a career in aviation.
Well, it sounds like now we just get the word out, because there's a wonderful opportunity to expose these students to the aviation opportunities. Is there a website or something that people interested in the summer camp can go to?
Yes, there is. It's www.obap.org, and when you go to that website, you can look at the link for the ACE camps, and it'll have the Jacksonville ACE camp that we have up. And I think Colonel Watson and the Ribault High School website, I think what we're actually going to strive is to put a link on everybody's website so you can access it from many different vantage points to see, but it'll all have the same information.
Great. Well, it's a wonderful program. We're excited about it. I want to thank you all for being here.
Thank you for having me.
C.J. Charlton, J.B. Renninger, and Juan Mert. A wonderful thing that you're doing collaboratively to expose our students to the wonderful world of aviation. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you for being with us on this edition of the Airport News Show. We look forward to seeing you next time.